Even if Detective Frankleferd Drebinwulf is going to be retired because I'm tired of the bit, that doesn't mean we are going to stop taking a look at the extracts for the Investigator. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, here to continue on with our guide for the first edition Pathfinder Investigator. Today, we are going to be taking a look at their level 2 extracts. Now, these spells and abilities are just absolutely incredible. This list gives such a wide array of flexible options for the Investigator, and this is already a class that is really customizable and can be shaped and flexed to fit into so many different roles, but these extracts do just so much for you, and there's a huge list of them for level 2. It's honestly really cool. Even if you're going to go with the less mechanically effective options, they still have a whole lot of style, personality to them. However you want to describe that, however you want to picture it, it just still does so much to yield a lot of options for you. So picking out a few unique and classic options that are going to yield a lot of great results for you is going to be very paramount for this kind of a guide. But before we get into all of that, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Now, let's actually start talking about your extracts, and we have 6 incredible options for you today. The first of which is Alchemical Allocation. This came up on a number of different guides and forum posts. It's absolutely worth it, but if you haven't read over it before, allow me to enlighten you. You target self with this extract, and for 1 round, if you consume a potion or elixir, you can spit it back into its container as a free action. You gain all the benefits of the potion, but don't consume it. You can use 1 potion this way per use of this extract, and that last bit there towards the second to last sentence, gosh, could I have worded that any more complicatedly? It's the part where you don't consume the potion that makes this an incredible ability, because it's around 3rd level, 4th level potions that get to be a really, really ridiculous cost in terms of their gold, to the point that it's really not worth it to buy them, or, if you make them yourself, that's one thing, but it still is going to cost you a lot of gold, especially at those levels, the levels where you're able to produce those by making use of that level of extracts, and it's just not worth it. But this makes it worth it, because now it's just a one-time cost that you can get repeated use out of, using different kinds of potions that replicate spells. Like bark skin is the tried and true standard that seems to come up a lot for this kind of spell, because that's a +2 enhancement bonus to your natural armor, which, if you have different armor types, like your dexterity and your natural armor gets to add in and stack with that. So really, really cool ability. It cannot be overstated how useful this extract is. Next is See Invisibility. Target self to see invisible creatures normally, and ethereal creatures as translucent shapes for 10 minutes per level. That's a great way to get around this particular buff. This is a very threatening ability to have almost at any level, so piercing through invisibility effects will be useful. Being able to see even translucent shapes of ethereal creatures is useful, and the duration makes this incredibly viable, because you're going to be looking at, level 2 extracts, you're looking at 30-40 minutes very early on with this. Almost as soon as you get this, that's a great buff to have. Next is Invisibility, which, funnily enough, follows on like I thought about it for a moment. It's a standard action to cast, and you turn yourself, 1 creature, or an object weighing up to 100 pounds a level invisible for 1 minute per level. Not an incredible duration, but still very useful. Just bear in mind that because this is an extract, I don't believe you can still apply this to an object, because you have to use this on yourself unless you have the infusion talent in order to be able to use this on other targets. Then we have Blur. Touch target creature, and for 1 minute per level, you distort the target's image, granting a 20% mischance that See Invisibility doesn't counteract. So, again, unless you have the infusion talent, you're not going to be able to apply this to anybody else but yourself. But given that you're in light armor and are depending quite a bit on your dexterity and other effects to produce a greater level of defense for yourself, throwing in a 1 out of 5 miss chance on yourself for any attacks coming your way is going to be really handy to have. So it's worth considering. Next, we have Barkskin. Touch target living creature and for 10 minutes per level to grant a +2 enhancement bonus to existing natural armor bonuses. This increases by 1 for every 3 caster levels above 3rd level. Max of +5 at 12th level. So it's nice that this is scaling, this is an increasing bonus and enhancement, but it's going to be replaced once you pick up a potion of Barkskin, particularly if it's one that is giving a +5 bonus. But on the off chance that you don't, still great for you to have, still good for you to have on hand in order to have this benefit until you're able to get one of those potions. And then, well, because you're not limited in the number of different formula you're able to learn and memorize and have down in your recipe book, in your book of formulas, it's not really going to be much skin off your back. And don't forget, you can swap your formula around as you advance. You can learn from other alchemists, other investigators. So it's not going to hurt you too bad to consider picking this one up early. Also, you can then eventually make your own potion of Barkskin if you need to. Then we have Focused Scrutiny. Cast on yourself, and for 10 minutes per level, you gain a +10 bonus on perception, sense motive, and survival checks made against one target creature you can see, as well as a +5 bonus on diplomacy and intimidate checks. And these are untyped bonuses, so these are going to just stack with everything that you're putting together. This extract will help to make you an incredible face character, especially with everything else that we have, since if you're using this guide and you're looking at your trait options or talents that allow you to apply other bonuses or swap out charisma for your intelligence as an example, like with diplomacy or an intimidate, you're going to be able to just see through targets, overwhelm them with your words, your skill checks, and it's really going to do so much for you, especially in non-combat situations. This is perfect for my favorite style of campaigns, which are cloak and dagger. Lots of deception, lots of character play, interaction, and the like. And even if you're not doing that, even if that's not the main focus of your campaign, these are still going to be great skills to have such incredible untyped bonuses to that last for so many minutes. Now, as an example of some other spells to avoid, we have things like Fiery Runes, Eagle Splendor, and Lead Anchor. Now, with Eagle Splendor, that's easy enough to describe. That's a +4 enhancement bonus to your charisma. It's a dump stat. We're not really worried about that. Maybe if you need to support a bard or a sorcerer, maybe that's going to be useful, but even then, that's going to quickly be replaced by headbands of charisma, for example. And those are two of the same bonus types, so they're not going to stack. It's only going to be whichever one provides the greater bonus, and ideally, they should at least be equal bonuses in that instance. So, worth it to skip that. But when it comes to Lead Anchor, you have to touch a target creature, and for 10 minutes per level, the target is going to sink like a lead anchor, unless they're able to succeed at a DC 20 swim check. This is mainly for things like in the description it says exploring the bottom of a body of water, like the sea, a lake, or particularly deep river, or you can use it to drown a target. But the thing is that that's quickly going to become irrelevant even if they don't make the will save, even if you bypass their spell resistance. At higher levels, a DC 20 swim check is not going to be incredibly difficult to hit for a number of different creatures you might want to use this on. It's just not really worth it. It's definitely more going to be for utility, and those situations where that's going to come up are going to be really rare. And also just bear in mind you need to have an air source if you're going to be making use of this. Then we also have the fiery runes as an option. If you haven't heard me talk about fire spells before, fire damage is the most common resistance type and immunity type in the game, elemental immunity type. So this is already going to be at a major disadvantage. Top it off with the fact that you're doing like 1d4 plus 1 points of fire damage to the target, and sure, it does increase in scale as you level up, but it's something like 5d4, 64 points of fire damage at like caster level 10, caster level 12. Again, just really not worth it, especially for a level 2 extract. You have better means of dealing damage all the way around. You're better off, especially with this build, looking at your extracts as more utility and support with and buffing. So buffing spells, buffing magic, or if you happen to have any effects that are able to effectively be a debuff, like See Invisibility, that negates an opponent's ability to go invisible and strike unseen. So this is what we're going to be going for overall. These are the kinds of effects that you want to generally avoid, but I always say story trumps pure mechanics and the like, and mechanically some of these do have problems. Again, like fiery runes, just it's not a great spell. But Lead Anchor, there are situations where that could be useful. It's just it's not going to be always broadly useful across multiple situations. So you shouldn't necessarily think of some of these spells as terrible all the time. They just have specific uses that may not be frequently coming up, unless your campaign is going to be revolving around exploring ruins that are at the bottom of a lake or a seabed or something like that, where you're going to need this spell like Lead Anchor to be able to drop down there and begin exploring. Or if you're having a vessel of some kind and you need to leave the vessel, well, again, the spell is going to be useful in that situation. And it's going to be useful frequently enough that, yeah, it's going to be worth it to have and make use of. But in the majority of your campaigns, you're not always going to be encountering bodies of water deep enough. Hence why this is rated lower, even though there are instances where this will be a good spell to have. And again, because you're not limited on the number of spells, or well, in this case, extracts and formula that you're able to have in your books to study, there's not going to be any harm in you picking it up. Just don't use it. Just don't make it any of your spells that you pick up as you level up. Make it one that you research, that you go to a library, repository, or another source like an alchemist or investigator. That's perfectly fine in that instance. But yeah, what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it, despite my ramblings there on the end about story versus mechanics versus situational effectiveness? Go on down to the comments below, let me know your thoughts. Hit the like button or dislike button, and remember, if you've made it this far, you must have enjoyed something, so why not go down there and hit the subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. And let's see if we can't get this video over 20 likes. I think we can manage 20 likes. Anyways, with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.